Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Mindfully Gay podcast. I'm John, and this is
Jerry.
Jerry. He's going to sign throughout the entire episode.
I've been recovering from a cold. I
Yes.
feel fine. I'm healthy.
Yes,
But my throat, I start talking and then I start coughing.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
the long introspective pauses is me collecting my vocal capacity.
Gotcha. Wonderful. Well, welcome back, and we're diving into another episode. And we were kind of reflecting on some past episodes, and maybe you've seen them or watched them. We did one on bromance,
Mhm.
we did one on kindness, and
Yeah.
we're getting a lot of kind of feedback, right? On
I have a feeling we're going to come back to kindness.
yeah,
Like-
yeah.
There's a lot of people. It's getting a lot of traction. And you know what else is interesting on our little video blurbs?
Yeah.
How many of my and I think it's interesting because the blurbs don't capture like a gay centric moment,
Right.
but the messaging of kindness seems to be resonating with a lot of straight folks as well as
Right,
gay
just kind of
folks.
across the board. Yeah, just kindness in general. We just kind of think of the state of the world right now. There's a lot of unstableness.
Leaders.
Leaders, period, right? I mean, we can go on. That's a whole other episode. We won't go there right now. But so I think perhaps particularly that episode on kindness is resonating with people because it seems like we're kind of losing a sense of being kind, just general kindness to one another. And which brought me to this particular topic. The internet and all the talk shows, is blowing up with this TV show. If you haven't watched it yet, is Heated Rivalry.
Mhm.
Everyone's talking about it.
On Netflix.
And it's on HBO. It's on HBO. Yeah, it's on HBO. It's about two hockey players on opposing teams and they're rivals and they fall in love. And so that's kind of the premise. And let me just say right now, there might be some spoilers if you haven't watched the show yet as we talk about it. But before we started recording, we were talking about, well, what's making this show so popular? One is there's a lot of sex.
A lot.
A lot of sex and nudity and that kind of thing.
Shower scenes
And butts and
hockey butts.
Hockey butts. Side butt.
And carefully crafted posing.
Very carefully crafted posing. Exactly. Because there's no full frontal nudity. Darn it. But I think that's probably one of the reasons why it's getting so much hype, right?
Because of no frontal nudity.
Because of no frontal nudity. No, because it's highly sexual. It's a highly sexually, visually stimulating show.
I had a friend describe it as porn with a plot.
Porn with a plot. Okay. We'll give them that. And yes, okay, there's that. But I think, and this is what I kind of wanted to get to, is, but what is the story about? What is this really reflecting? And is there a lesson that we can even learn from a show like this? What are some of the themes? Because even before I started watching it, you were watching it before I was, and you were mentioning some of the themes. There's certainly themes of like coming out, relationships, romance, and things like that. And I thought, so that intrigued me to watch it. And so I did watch it. Yes, there is the sexual part, but I was drawn in by this love story. It's a love story. It may not be the best love story on television, but it's a love story between two men. And it made me think about just growing up and what I was watching on television. I never saw anything like this on television, as far as two men falling in love in a positive way, really. Yes, these are athletes. They're in the closet. They have to hide their sexuality and their love for one another. But nonetheless, they love one another. And they find ways to kind of move through the obstacles of their profession, etc. But kind of going through it, it seems, it's a true love that they finally are able to articulate. There's some coming out themes with their story and some other team members as well, and they're positive. And I was very happy, really, just watching that. Like I said, having grown up watching TV shows and movies, that's not what we saw. It was shows like, and the band played on, or I can't think of some other shows where it was about AIDS and dying, or the it's drug use and meth and overdose. I mean, just things like that were always kind of in the mix of some of these relationships or maneuvering through gay life.
Well, think about this movie that's coming out.
Oh,
Pillion.
oh yeah, yeah,
Which I think is going to probably be incredibly popular because it's very sexually stimulating.
yeah. Another one. Mhm.
But it seems just looking at the advertisements, I thought this looks like it's dependent on some stereotypes. Again, it's not a review. It's just my first observation is
Right.
okay, this is where they're going to go with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those stereotypes that I think we.
Have you seen the documentary Celluloid Closet?
Yeah.
Even though that was, made what?
In the 90s?
Yeah, it's old.
Yeah.
And yet the template of the Celluloid Closet is to show how our personal narratives have been shaped and influenced by the voices of Hollywood.
Yeah.
And they do a really good job of going through like silent films and how plots that involved gay characters were changed and adapted. But at some point, there's a narration that happens from one of the commentators that says, we've learned to laugh at ourselves. Our lives are tragedies, lives to be endured, to be pitied or even feared.
Feared, pitied, yes.
And in many ways, those narratives got woven into early cinematic templates.
Yeah, for sure.
And what I wish somebody would do is pick up where the Celluloid Closet left off.
Yes.
Because I think it's around the Clinton era that the Celluloid Closet kind of ends.
Finishes. Mm-hmm.
So it would be really interesting to see, well, what has the last 30 years brought us?
Right. Because I would guess, just from observation, things have really shifted. Things have shifted. Gay marriage, legalization, people are more out and coming out, even coming out at a younger age. I think there's a bit more acceptance around coming out and being gay, and just all the iterations of that and the different terms that we're using. It just seems like it's growing in a good way. At least that's my hope, and that's kind of what I've been witnessing over the last 20, 30 years. When we look at, the Celluloid Closet, looking at media, TV, videos, movies, etc. Because I think, when I think about like my growing up, I was in front of the TV a lot, watched a lot of TV. So a lot of my influence especially around being, a person of color, but also a gay person, a lot of it came from television, what I witnessed on TV. And in deciding how I was going to act as a Black person, how I was going to act as a gay person in public, and how I was going to dress, or what I was going to say or not say, was really kind of formulated by what I was seeing on television. But with this shift, maybe there's a shift towards a more openness, acceptance, and the depictions of gay people on all these spectrums are maybe a little bit more true to life, and not just based on a stereotype. There's more opportunity. Because what I like, again, about Heated Rivalry and some other shows, which we'll mention, is that they had this lovely romance that it's about love, and that I can't articulate it any other way, but it just makes me feel good just to see that. Just, oh, how sweet, how nice.
Can I ask you a question about that? Because this stood out in my mind as I was watching the series. And maybe I'm pausing not because I want to cough. I'm pausing because I wonder if I'll get hurt on this one. Because I felt like the show depicted them hooking up, having great sex, and the great sex was the foundation of the love affair.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that.
And I don't know how I feel about that particular or that process of relationship building, or how incredibly realistic that. I'm not even sure what I'm saying. I just think it's interesting how sex became this centralized, pivotal moment. Sex became a central focus point, and everything else was a byproduct of the sex.
Yeah, I agree, and I think this is how I'm viewing it. Yeah, it was hookups, it was in secret, and it was more like one night stand kind of things. But I think what was not present were, things like drugs and alcohol, and kind of in a way that was kind of a throwaway as far as we're having sex and then it's over. But something was developing in these characters, in these people, that this was the only, I guess, stream of, I don't know how to say it. This was like the only avenue that they could take, in their view, to be together was through these hookups. But through the hookups, something developed, a love developed. And because otherwise that could have been just, like a grinder thing and just a throwaway, and that's it, done. Or like if they were in public or something and in being bullies to each other and things like that, which were not particularly there. So I guess what I'm saying is, yes, it is based off of these sexual encounters, and I think some people do develop relationship this way, and it can become a long-lasting relationship. That's what I was getting from this particular narrative.
Yeah, my frustration was it's centralized sex. Like, other than some bantering and teasing that they would do about one of them being boring or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Like I just didn't see how they connected other than
sex. I get
and and I think there's a very we're a very sexualized community. Very, we engage sexually, recreationally. Our mores around sexuality is very different than our heterosexual friends. And I'm not even having a judgment about that as much as how could the story included some more of the emotional in-depthness. They shared this common stress about we're both professional athletes in high-profile situations, and we know that coming out would potentially sabotage our careers.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
I
hear what you're saying. Is because you mentioned Boots, another show that's on Netflix, right? I haven't seen it, and you were commenting before we recorded, about a similar kind of thing. It's military men, right?
Boots is about these two guys join the Marines. They're going through boot camp together, and the one guy is closeted and gay. Although his best friend knows that he's gay. And he's certainly kind of out of his element when he starts. And I was trying to look it up, I couldn't find it, but I think it's also kind of meant to be set like in the 80s or 90s, which was a totally different world.
True.
But I don't recall there being any explicit sexual scenes.
Mm-hmm.
But it did focus on the dynamics and the struggles. And what's interesting is I think Boots got like 5 minutes of a hurrah, and people liked it, and then it just kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
Heated Rivalry, there's like this whole
movement.
Yeah. And although I enjoyed Heated Rivalry, I would give it a B. But I think with all the hype, it's raised to such kind of like, it's become a phenomenon.
Yeah, I hear you. So with the Boots show, would you say, as far as kind of how that developed, is there more of that emotional characteristics of, romance and things like that, where since it's not highly sexualized and there's not a lot of sex involved as far as what you're watching on the screen, so is it more feeling and emotion and thoughtfulness? Would you say that?
Yeah, and I think you're constantly kind of wondering how they're going to navigate some of the dilemmas they find themselves in. And so I think for me, the reason I was binging Boots is like, okay, well, how do they handle that? And what's the next step after that?
Yeah.
Of course, I was in the military. I went through basic training. In fact, I thought they did an incredible job of recreating the whole boot camp experience. I think here's where I want to go with Heated Rivalry though, for a moment.
Sure.
Is both of the actors, like the guy who played the Russian actor, that guy is phenomenal.
Yeah, right.
Just pulling off that character, pulling off that accent. Because when you see him outside of that, it's like he's still cute, but not as cute. Like I kind of liked it when he was mean. But I sometimes think we are, and this came up in Celluloid Closet, and kind of the paraphrasing of the quote that comes from Celluloid Closet is this documentarian is talking about, sometimes we're so hungry for images of ourselves. And so we'll be watching a show and we'll see this great love scene between two lesbians and they're kissing, and we call our friends and we say, hey friend, you got to see this movie. It's got this great lesbian scene. Okay, yeah, they're vampires, but it's a great scene. And she makes an excellent point, right? Like right. We will gravitate to it because it's just like, it's something we can relate to at some point. And I think Heated Rivalry kind of banks on that a bit. Yeah. We'll throw in lots of scandalous kind of sex kind of stuff. And we get the story because we've all lived aspects of that story. Or we've recalled it from our history, and we certainly want to see it have some kind of a happy ending. Right? And yeah, I don't know that in my mind, I thought Boots was a far better piece of
just storytelling and art
than how Heated Rivalry turned out.
Very interesting.
But I think the sensational part of it is the sex. And again, I just think we're so hungry for those images.
Exactly, we're hungry for it. It's a bait. It's a way of throwing the line, and we're gonna catch. It's gonna catch somebody, and it did.
Now what's interesting about Heated Rivalry. Apparently, there's going to be another season. Yeah, it's already been picked up. Boots, although it was popular, was supposed to be carried on, but I just looked up online, and it's been canceled because it was seen as too controversial.
What?
Because gay military.
Wow.
And right now, in the political tensions of things, they decided not to carry it.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. We're in interesting times, aren't we?
Right. Yeah, gosh. So, I'm getting like all kinds of feels and tingles with that one.
But I think I think there are valuable things to take from these two examples of cinematography, right? Because have our images changed? Well, I can think of lots of gay characters. For instance, Will and Grace. It was fun. It was a great comedy. but it really banked on a stereotypical gay character, Jack.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the fag hag Karen,
Yeah.
right? For that energy, I don't know, if Jack was a more sexualized person, would it have been as popular? If Will hadn't been so uptight and was a little bit more liberal about his, right? And I think what happens is, or my concern, and we've talked about this in the relevance of porn, but I think in lots of ways that we may not be terribly conscious of, we have Hollywood and other production sources telling our stories, right? Like Pillion has a straight actor playing a gay main character.
Right.
Because there's no gay men that can do that.
No.
I want to know the research he did. Right. But yeah, how do these kind of outside narratives shape our sense of identity, our sense of belonging, our sense of relevance, our sense of how we even operationalize our own lives? I love sex. I love sexuality. I love sex on multiple continuums. But it's not the central focus of my identity.
Right. Right.
And yet I think Heated Rivalry promoted that at some level. If my mom were watching it, she'd, my mom's a bad example.
Not your mom.
Some of my neighbors, we all get together, we have movie nights. And if we had chosen that, I think there would be a part of me wondering, do they think my life looks like that?
Right. We run into a dilemma, and we run into a dilemma of, because I know like I was mentioning earlier, I'm shaped a lot by what I've seen on TV and how I want to behave and be seen. And so that can be shaped by, television shows, commercials, whatever. And so we're highly influenced. And there's, like you said, there's that hunger to be seen and to be seen in media in hopefully positive ways. But then, so we see gay people on television and movies. Great. But then the flip side is that question of, do people see me like that? Just having sex all the time and just having hookups all the time? Because that's not me. Right? And so we run into the dilemma of, is that true to, my personal experience as a gay person, what is being shown on TV and what people are perceiving and how they interpret it. Well, that's gay life. That's what they do, right? So we run into that paradox. So there is that positive, yay, we're on television, and there are some positive depictions, yet there's still the stereotype, well, they just have sex all the time. Right? And it's unfortunate that a show like Boots, that gets canceled, does show and try to depict, the emotionality of a gay male relationship and the hardships and the thoughtfulness around maneuvering through that, because that is a reality in the military or at school or in home life or whatever. Because I think, that is real, but it's not sensational as far as glitz and glamour for TV.
Yeah.
And so people miss out. If we're showing gay people on television, again, there's a lot of gay, content out there, movies, television shows, but that this just aren't seen because they're not a heated rivalry.
Yeah.
They're a little bit more thoughtful and emotional, and that just doesn't get the same hype as.
If those two characters had been retired hockey stars, would we have cared?
You wonder. Yeah.
Would the show be so popular?
Right. Because it might just be, it's just, a married couple or a couple guys dating and falling in love. And
well, I'm even going into the space of if it were two 50-year-olds, if it were two I get the whole concept of the story, but I'm just putting out there what made it popular is an indicator to me of how people relate it to the movie, and does it fortify and strengthen their sense of stereotypes about gay men, or did it inform them?
Yeah. Because even just like you know, it's two young, attractive, fair-skinned men, and you know, on television, and that's appealing to a lot of people. But what about, you know, the overweight, the bald, the old, the, you know, person
What
of
if
color?
one of the characters had been black?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's lots. Yeah. Those are the dilemmas we still are running into, as far as kind of true depiction, in just kind of thinking about, you know, what we've talked about in other episodes, how it is hard for people to, you know, show up to things like a retreat or a gathering because they feel like they're not going to fit in, because they don't look a certain way, for example. They don't fit that mold. And so, yeah, a show like Heated Rivalry, yeah, women are loving the show. Like, ooh, these hot men and hot gay men are probably looking at this too, like, yeah, this is hot, this is fun, this is great. And or what about, you know, kind of your just average Joe watching this, like, yeah, it's a good show, but
too much sex.
Not enough me. Like, that's not me.
Yeah.
You know, that's not me on that screen.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think there's this, like, how do we tell stories? And then how do we give permission for our own narratives to be just as impactful as watching these two fictional characters? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, it's interesting. We talked about the kindness episode, and this will come out like in a month from now. You know, so kindness just got released. But it's interesting to me, some of the comments that I'm hearing on TikTok and Instagram and what have you, people who are definitely identifying with that concept of the cattiness and some of the ugliness that we do with each other. And it's always interesting that whenever we reflect what we don't like, we tend to always reflect it from the perspective of being the victim of it. And part of my comments back to folks is we have to have crucial conversations about difficult subjects, and we have to be willing to legitimize our experiences, both what we've had happen, but then what we intend to do forward.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How do we shape that narrative? And so,
yeah, because we've talked about being, you know, having the remedy or the solution or, you know, the counterpart to, you know, it's like, well, okay, yeah, we can sit in that trauma,
right?
You know, in that experience. Is that going to be your existence and identity, or are we going to do something about it?
Yeah, we're all activists.
Yeah,
we should all be activators with each other. You know, and so my challenge, it's interesting, like we have this bowling thing coming up. And kind of what I'm hearing is people have this anxiety about showing up because they're anticipating cattiness. They're expecting some kind of ugliness. And I think about, every once in a while, there's an asshole that shows up. Not in a good way, but there's always somebody that kind of shows up. When I say shows up, meaning I'll interact with somebody, maybe in an app or social media or something. But generally speaking, when I have gone to queer-centric events or hosted them or people I have in my life, I don't see that. And so then I start thinking, where are people getting these perceptions? I know this is going to trigger you, but I think I stopped watching a particular drag show because it banked on the ugliness and the cattiness between the queens.
It does. I agree.
And I don't even know drag queens that act that way towards each other.
Mm-mm.
But this production company seems to find them, and they're promoting a narrative.
Mm-hmm. And it's a popular show, and it's been on for season after season after season.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the thread line, the weaving all of it together. It is that.
So I could be this gay guy sitting at home feeling all alone, watch a show like that and think, well, yeah, I'm not going to be around them.
Mm-hmm.
And I could be around that. I think, have we already aired the Mr. X video?
No.
Oh.
Well, after it will have aired.
You're going to see it before we are.
Before we are.
But what I loved about having him is it was nice talk. Like the persona can be intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought Mr. X was quite charming.
Very charming.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's how do we, break through these stereotypes and these narratives? I think drag queen or drag show is a good example of, here's a depiction of a section of our community, and many who love it, but there's many who just really do not love it. It's like, that is not me. I don't want to have anything to do with that, and certainly don't want to be around that. I like the show, but I don't think I would want to be around that kind of energy all the time.
No.
And so I think you're right. People are, because if that's what they're watching, if that's their perspective and one of their snapshots of what is out there in the gay community, even being a gay person, then they might expect, well, if I go to a bowling outing or a pizza party or a movie night or a retreat, I'm going to run into that because that's what's there. Yeah. That's what's out there. And we're always saying, challenge that narrative, challenge that story that you may have running in your head and show up, because you're going to find it very different. Because that's been my experience. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not running into that cattiness and that meanness, at least in what we're hosting, and even the things that I go to. I just hosted a class. This was actually just last night, and I had a lot of new people, a yoga class, and there was some tantric workings in this particular class. And so I had a lot of new people, and they were texting me before class. They had registered weeks ago, but they were texting me as we're getting closer and closer because there was a concern, a worry about, is there going to be an expectation that I show up a certain way and do certain things and that kind of thing. So they were genuinely concerned. And I was able to, I think, in some part, it was all through text, to kind of walk them off the cliff a little bit. I think I said, you'll find that the people here are very friendly. It's a brotherhood. It's we're looking after each other. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. Just giving all of those precursors, right? And they took that for what that was, but took the challenge and showed up. Mm-hmm. And I think that was kind of the biggest thing. Even though they had all that running in their head, they still showed up. And I believe, because they even said it, they had a wonderful experience. They were so glad that they came. They felt accepted. Mm-hmm. They felt included and could weave in and out as they pleased. It was quite beautiful. It was actually quite beautiful to watch. It was encouraging. And it was a nice reminder of why I do this kind of work. And because it does break that narrative of, drag show, or that particular show, or even a Heated Rivalry, that you don't have to act or look a certain way. You can be you and show up as you, authentically you, and that's going to be celebrated. That's the activator, that's the activist part of self, I think, when you can push through that challenge and show up. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, I think one thing I frequently hear from, in my practice, it's not a common. I have people who are considering coming out or newly coming out, maybe they've been found out.
Mm.
And as they're kind of wrestling with the process of who am I going to be? How am I going to find my voice? That this line always comes up. I mean, I can practically anticipate it.
Yeah.
And that is, well, I'm just not sure that I want to be part of the gay community, or the gay community isn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I always just ask the question back, what does that mean, gay community?
Yeah, what is that?
When you're saying, what part of the gay community are you having anxiety about?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And everyone has a different answer,
mm-hmm.
depending on what their station is in life, right?
Yeah, and what's in their rear view mirror or in their forefront. Exactly.
Right.
Keep going.
And so often it's what they've seen on TV,
Mm-hmm.
what they see in the news.
Yep.
And what gets sensationalized
Yeah.
is usually the extremist,
Yep.
right? So, drag queens are big right now. Heated Rivalry is big right now. And so people either see kind of a campiness or an energetic process that they're just
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, I can't relate to that. Therefore, I'm not part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we all know the distortion in that.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, when I'm hearing them, they're referencing what they're getting from media.
Yeah.
And social media is also another huge thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, I'm fairly convinced that most gay men do not own shirts. If I just kind of bank it on social media, most gay men just don't have shirts.
Or if they do have shirts, they don't have buttons.
Yeah, no buttons.
No buttons on those shirts.
So I put that in context. I still appreciate it. But I also think I just see the other side of those consequences that say, right, that's sort of persona, I buy into it, and am I qualified? Do I fit in? Can I be a part of that? And I think sometimes what keeps people in the closet is the anticipation or fear that they have to live up to those type of expectations.
Right. It's making me think, because I certainly, thinking about, I came out pretty early. I was, 19 when I publicly came out, and just thinking about even before that, before publicly coming out, and just kind of coming out to myself, and one, just labeling myself. I remember I had to say to myself, okay, I guess I'm gay, and just slapping that label on. But then what does that mean? Here's a kid who grew up in the 70s, right? And what I saw on TV as far as gay lifestyle was not pretty. or it was sensationalized, like it would, here's the San Francisco Gay Pride and just all the flamboyancy and all of that. And I'm like, I don't think I can do that. I don't think that's me. And because that was not me, and didn't really try to even jump into that world, I'm just now thinking, so what did I do? What did I do? And it was, I guess I still became me, obviously, and did what I enjoyed. And I'm saying this as a reminder to myself, but really saying it to listeners out there too. If you're kind of thinking about this, maybe coming out or thinking about coming out, or we're just kind of re-identifying self in a way. And I when I talk to people, I like to ask, so what do you like to do? What do you enjoy doing? And if you enjoy doing those things, or if you have something that you enjoy, then do those things, because that's what's going to shape who you are. I liked music, so I listened to music. I like dancing. I like roller skating. As a kid growing up, I was into drama and shows and things like that. I just did what I like to do. I like board games. I like to cook, play in the kitchen, play Star Wars and Legos. I mean, it may not seem like anything when I talk about it now, but those things shaped me to, I think, who I am today, as far as maybe a creative person, or being able to kind of just step into, the fullness of my own being, because I was able to create a foundation of what I wanted to be and who I was, rather than trying to fit into something that certainly was not me. Certainly intrigued by it and fascinated by leather or drag or makeup and things like that, or even the flamboyancy. And I can play those roles, but it's not me. It's not my essence. It's something else. And so I'm saying that out loud, perhaps as a way to help people maybe think a little bit about, so what is your essence? We certainly have talked about gay gifts and blessings and talents. What are those things? What are those things?
Yeah.
Because I think that's what's going to help you create the identity that suits you and fits you the best.
Yeah. So, Heated Rivalry. 2 nice S's. 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up. Thumbs up for the
good acting. We'll give the Russian good acting.
We'll give the Russian, the American who's playing, Russian dude. Yeah, that was pretty all right. Okay.
Interesting moments of relevant issues for folks to consider, like coming out. Other than coming out, I thought there was an interesting piece about, I thought they did an interesting piece where they compared kind of like Russian anti-gay propaganda versus,
I thought that was interesting. And I think that was important to see, because he came off as this, this tough guy and a bully, so to speak. But in his personal life, he was going through some pretty hard stuff, basically from the country, his family, etc. And so he'd had to put up, a shell and a wall of things that really didn't allow him to be his authentic self. And so there's that. And I think what we do see, and I wish there was more of it, more of that vulnerability, because as they got closer, it broke down, that vulnerability, and he could share, what was going on with him. It would be nice to see more of that, I think.
There was some interesting, like when the family finds out.
Yeah.
I thought that was an interesting dynamic, and certainly a shift in narratives, because usually that's the point of tragedy in gay stories.
Exactly. It's like, uh-oh, yeah. And that's what the character thought. It's like, this is the end. This is the end. That's it. It's over with.
That's a good point. I see this frequently with clients. And maybe, again, we've been influenced subtly by what we see in the media. Every client I know who's contemplating coming out runs that narrative of the worst case scenario.
The worst case scenario. They're gonna disown me, or ostracize me, and toss me to the side. What would the neighbors say, etc. Yeah, that narrative. I had that narrative.
And that story does happen. It can be a reality for people. I also sometimes think, as queer folks, we think we should come out and people immediately throw a party, and I don't think that's terribly realistic, because I'll give you an example. I have a daughter, she's pregnant, and when she told me she was pregnant, I was like, happy, but I also know that I kind of fell back a little bit and was thinking about the challenges, the potential concerns that could come up. I worry about her health and her physical safety, and I know it. I guess my point is, right? It takes a minute to grapple with and to adjust, and to we all paint a picture for each other.
Yes.
It's usually very heteronormative. But we all paint a picture. And sometimes when the narrative is not playing out in the way that we had hoped or anticipated, I see a lot of parents and family members who mean well, but they also go through a period of grieving and adjustment.
Exactly.
And usually what I have found to be the most helpful with parents in a situation is when they're talking to other parents who have gone through the same thing. And sometimes parents are stupid and they dig their heels in and take a position, and I've seen people get ostracized. But I think in most cases, give people 2 or 3 months, and there's usually a process of adapting. And
I want to say that I want that to be more of the storyline for people. Yeah, people do get ostracized and thrown out, which is so highly unfortunate and tragic, and that is a huge fear. Yet there's that process, or that the family that you come out to, whether it's by accident or on purpose. The parents or whoever you're coming out to, they have a coming out process too. You've done yours to the point where you're now comfortable to say, I'm gay, and you're coming out. Think about the time it took for you to get to that point.
Yeah.
And you're at the doorstep when you're telling a parent or a friend or a close person in your life, I'm gay. Now their door is swung open. What do they got to do with that? They got to process, just like you, just listening, and certainly happy for your daughter, but you got to process that.
Yeah.
Just thinking about your child and the person that you love that's in your family, because it changes the narrative as far as what's in your head. Because that certainly happened with my family. I think I was young. I was thinking that they would just, oh, we love you. It's all great and wonderful. We love you. Blah blah blah. Kissy kissy. And it wasn't that, but it wasn't that I didn't get ostracized, but it was, they had to take a moment. And it took some time, and I think just the time for them to kind of reshape what their vision was for me, and to just stand back and just kind of watch me as a person and just do my thing. And I guess eventually just realizing, well, John is still John.
If my daughter came to me and said, I think I'm a lesbian, I'd be like, huh? Like, I would, it's not where the narrative has been going. And so it would feel like, a deer just ran in front of my car and I have to
slam on the brakes. Right. It's like, whoa, wait a minute.
What just happened?
Yeah. What? Yeah.
But I think in the movie, right, I do think they handled that fairly well.
The show is based off a book, and it's a series of books. I think it's like 7 books or something, and it kind of goes through the whole their whole relationship and whatnot. So I'm wondering, I may be curious, like moments like that on television. How were they depicted in the book? I wonder if that took a little bit more time for the parents to process that, and just more of the interaction and the dialogues and the feelings and things like that. I just wonder, because in a way, I think they did handle it well in the TV show, but it seemed a little bit almost too quick.
Yeah, almost like a side note.
Yeah.
Oh, mom and dad know everything's cool.
Everything's cool. Let's have beers and pizza or whatever. It's lovely that it was a positive experience, but I think the time frame, it may not have been as the most realistic thing, out there.
The other thing that I thought was interesting, and maybe not as realistic, is, and I don't know, I guess you said spoiler alert. So at some point, the one character decides to date women.
Oh, that's right.
And then she pretty much outs him.
Yeah.
and a couple of things that bothered me. The reason she outed him is because he just wasn't sexually there for her. I'm like, fuck you, we know how to act. But I've never seen that situation. Of course, I'm a therapist. People come to me when it gets messy. But I've never seen that situation flow out so effortlessly.
So effortlessly. That was pretty effortless on television.
Yeah. It's challenging, and a woman who feels like she's not doing it for her man, right? There's the whole kind of sexual self-esteem issues that come up for women.
Exactly.
And
She certainly could have taken a defeatist attitude, because she talked about how this has happened to her before.
Yeah.
You know, she dated guys before that came out, or, you know, like all the gay guys I dated were gay, you know? So I guess she didn't see it as, you know, something that was traumatic, but just, okay, well, you know.
Yes. But I have also seen guys who get married who end up maintaining a friendship and a connection with their exes.
Yeah.
That can be positive and
Very
healthy.
much so.
But
yeah.
again, I think that part of it, I thought, well, that didn't strike me as terribly realistic.
Yeah. But I think the hope is, I guess the way that I saw it was, I want that to be true. I want that to be the experience for people, whether it's that coming out and the parents just lovey-lovey, or even this girlfriend who just, it's cool, I want you to be my best friend, for real, you know, and
So I wonder, I might get myself in trouble this episode. We'll see what happens. But I sometimes wonder, in telling our gay stories, it's often done at the exclusion that choices that we make shouldn't impact other people's lives. Like, oh, you're gay? I know we've been in a relationship for 2 years, but you just go be gay. You know, or, you know, yeah, I just think sometimes we get so kind of involved in our own processes that we set up expectations, even politically sometimes, that don't take in consideration a full narrative.
Yeah.
And that's not, I'm not trying to delegitimize our experience, but maybe kind of shift our centralized focus only on our experience to realize there's implications in many places.
Right. I think that's important. I think that's really important. You know, I often will tell people, play the full story, play the whole tape, play the whole tape, not just get stuck in this moment and it's just about you, but how this affects and influences those around you as well. And just your atmosphere and environment, you know, how does it affect that too?
Yeah.
You know, you certainly can go different ways, but just be mindful about the larger picture, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Heated Rivalry. Love it or hate it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, what are your thoughts? Are you seeing some of these themes? Are you relating to the show if you're watching the show? Or are you just saying, oh no, oh my God, no way?
You know, I know I'm sounding pretty critical of it. I'm critical of it through the lens of, does it set us up? I loved it. I liked the sex scenes. I liked the shower scenes. I binged watched it because I did enjoy it. I was just then left thinking, I think there's been other, like Boots, I think was, but of course I'm a veteran. I went through boot camp. Like I went through boot camp as a gay man. And so maybe I just relate it to Boots differently. I can't ice skate. I don't know what it's like to fall in love on skates.
Right.
So I don't want to crush anyone's, you know, if you love it, love it.
Yeah.
I'm just asking us to consider some things.
Right. And I don't think you were being critical at all. I think, you know, we're doing what we do on this podcast. We're just taking a deeper dive. And just kind of, what else is here besides the glitz and glamour and the hype of the show? What else is here that can potentially impact us personally, and maybe our broader community, and just to consider, like you said, just to take a look, and take a feel, like how is this resonating with you?
The one thing I chuckle at, and again, maybe I'm just being a bitch today because I don't feel good. I don't know, but I think when I hear actors complaining about having to do sex scenes and how much work it is, I'm like, bitch, you haven't done a day's worth of work. That was hard for you? You're going to really hate shoveling snow.
What real people have to do. Right?
What a burden.
Mm-hmm.
So, love to hear your thoughts about the podcast, about Heated Rivalry, maybe Boots, maybe there's other shows that you think, wow, I really love how this show captured this for me. We want to hear your feedback.
Yeah.
Feedback. Don't be ugly. Just be nice. But feedback is helpful.
Yes. And on that note, we do have check out mindfullygay.com because we have some events. I think we pretty much have the whole year planned. We have some retreats coming up, some social events. Our next retreat is actually I'm going to forget the dates now. March. End of March. Just the end of March.
Go to the website.
Go to the website. You'll find out. You can actually register. So check that out. And and find us on the socials. TikTok,
Instagram, mindfully_gay. Facebook, we do have a page.
Mm-hmm. And YouTube. So if you're watching, thanks for watching. Tell your friends about it. Click that like button and subscribe, as they say on the YouTube. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time on the Mindfully Gay podcast.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Mindfully Gay podcast. If you enjoyed our conversation today, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. This way you won't miss out on any of our upcoming episodes, where we continue to explore fascinating topics and share meaningful stories. Your support means the world to us. See you in the next episode.